Hello and welcome to the show. This COVID-19 pandemic is affecting our industry for a lot longer than anyone could have really expected. It is, however, good to see production is starting to pick up again, and while we're seeing lots of green shoots of recovery, we all know it's still hard going for a lot of us.
Yeah, companies are having to rapidly adapt and change to get through the crisis, and with government help not necessarily forthcoming for all of us, many are turning to finance to help them survive this challenging period. And of course to help them invest in the right kit for the future. So who better to talk to?
Yeah, who better indeed. Once again on the show we welcome Paul Robson from Medialease. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for inviting me on again.
So when we first came out of lockdown, lots of companies took out the Bounceback loans thinking that this would be a good short-term option. Obviously the situation is now going on just a little bit longer than anyone thought would be possible. Is there any way they can borrow any more? Are there any other options available to them?
Yeah, it's things have moved on a little bit. Most people have taken up the advantages that they've been offered by their bank or by people like Medialease. The question is, if you've taken a bounce back loan, you can't take any more. There's no extension of that. There's no additional funding for bounce. Take your 50 grand, bank it, spend it, rainy day it, whatever you do. Or not convert it to C-bills, but take out a bigger C-bills loan, which is what we're seeing now. We're seeing companies who perhaps thought this is all going to be over by October. We'll take a bounce back loan. That'll get us through with the cash we've got. We'll be fine. And now they're going, didn't quite get that right. We're going to take a bit more out. So we're effectively helping them by repaying the bounce back loan and taking out a much bigger C-bills loan, which carry a higher interest rate. Bounce back is 2.5 and the C-bills is anywhere from 3.3 to 6 or 7. But it's still relatively cheap money, in my opinion. And that's dependent on the provider of the C-bills. But of course, it's up to 5 years. With some providers, there's no repayments for 12 months. So it is a good product, but obviously you wouldn't do it if you're just looking to borrow 60 or 70 grand. You'd do it if you want to extend your borrowing to say 150. And we're looking at both C-bills loans for that, but we're doing a lot of C-bills refinance, so refinance current agreement that perhaps the customer is under with the bank.
And this might be a difficult question to answer, Paul, but is there a proportional split of people that are borrowing money to survive, basically, versus those that are actually doing okay? They've got reserves and they're just borrowing to invest in new equipment whilst the funding is cheap, easy, relatively flexible, and of course with no personal guarantees.
So guarantees is a good point, which often gets overlooked. That sometimes it's better to look at reaching your lease, particularly if they're with funders with personal guarantees, because as you said, Simon, the benefit of a C-bills refinance is there are no personal guarantees up to 250. So, in answer to your question, it's a good question. I think that roughly speaking, we're seeing a third of people who are not interested in buying any kit whatsoever. No, not interested, just want to survive, just want to get through this, and I need to restructure my bank borrowing. I need to restructure my borrowings full stop to give me some cash to ride the wave. A third of people roughly are saying, I don't need particularly to restructure, but I'll just take a lump of money now, please, because I don't know how long this pandemic's going to go on, this situation is going to go on. I've got enough for now, but I'll take the money whilst it's available. It's not a bad idea. I'll bank it, and I hope that I might not need it. If I don't need it, then I'll use it in the future to buy kit with, or I'll just decide to return it. And then there's roughly, as I say, a third that are basically saying everything's fine, but I'm using C-bills to use it to buy new kits. I'm actually buying new kit that I need in my business now, but I'm using C-bills asset finance rather than C-bills loans. And I may not have got the percentages right, but that's roughly what we're seeing.
And of those people that are buying the kit, can you say that you've particularly noticed a trend in certain technologies or equipment with certain features? Is there a trend there?
Well, the live events side of our business, which is quite a large chunk, that's obviously disappeared. There's nobody really. I wouldn't say nobody, but very little people are using asset finance to buy any new kit in that market. But in the production and post-production market, yes, we're actively encouraging people to use Civils because of the benefits that it attracts, not just the rate and the fact that the interest is paid in the first 12 months, but particularly it's a good financing product and it's worked well. So some people have perhaps brought forward their buying cycles. We would do this. We were going to put it off to next year, but we've kind of said, no, do it now. You're going to do this. So we've bought a number of Avid S6 mixing consoles for post-production. Bought a big ISIS Nexus system from Avid for a post house who haven't yet installed it. They've got the kit. They took the lease out in June, haven't yet installed it in the building, but took the opportunity to buy the Nexus with Civils. And we've also done a number of cameras. But importantly, we've just done a very large edit share system into a prominent post house. It's a really big opportunity that the customer's currently thinking about. We haven't actually transacted yet, but we've agreed the deal.
So there's going to be technologies being invested in because of the pandemic, like IP technologies for people working at home and so on. Are you seeing any interesting new technology being adopted by the production market in spite of the pandemic?
The real area that's really taken off in the last 6 months, and I don't know if it's anything to do with the pandemic or not, is this virtual studio setup where high quality, high pixel count LED screens are being installed in various locations, which are effectively presenting themselves as TV or film studios, and whether they're being used for film work or whether they're being used for commercial work. We're talking to a customer in a minute who's looking at a massive Netflix TV production, number of series. It's not The Crown, but imagine something like The Crown, and they're looking at a 3-year install for this technology, and it's a serious investment. You're talking camera tracking, you're talking super high quality LED screen and floor and thing, and you're talking about a very, very sophisticated server processor to process image to replace effectively what you and I know as green screen. And I'm not saying green screen is going to disappear, but in the high-end commercials and the high-end film and TV series work, it's very much suffering because of this investment in LED and processor technology. I was down in Bournemouth last week in the Bournemouth International Centre watching a production being made using a client's LED screen and technology. And there's a lot of kit on set, an awful lot of kit that they just leave there and leave it there for weeks and weeks, and then the actors come in and do their bit, and there's no green screen. So
we've had the pleasure of your company on the show on a number of occasions now over the last 6 months. We've always talked finance. Let's finish off this chat with something about you that we, and maybe even your colleagues at Medialease, don't yet know about you.
Don't yet know about me. Right, okay. No point mentioning the booze and the fags then, is there? Right, let's go back. Let's go back to maybe not childhood, but a previous life before I got into financing. I've been in financing since '95, and before that, I sold escalators for a living, believe it or not. Not
up in the world.
Really. Yeah, that's an old joke. But I have been on tour with a number of serious rock bands. I've met quite a few rock bands, but I did a week-long tour of Europe. From Ted in '93 and spent a little bit of time with Lemmy, not much, but we did have a cracking week on the road, and it's got to stay on the road, boys. It's got to stay on the road, but it's a good week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks for watching today, and thanks to Paul from Medialease for coming on the show once again. To see all of our interviews and kit reviews, then head over to KitPlus TV, which is brought to you with the support of Mediaproxy and you can find out more about them at mediaproxy.com.